So today we've got Emily Victoria Waters with us for our podcast. Welcome, Emily.
Thank you.
Thank you nice for having me. To see you again.
It is very nice to see you again.
And welcome you to this beautiful Team Valley.
This beautiful place. Such a pleasure. Thank you.
So perhaps you should start by telling us a bit about your background and how you've ended up here and now.
Here and now, yes. Well, yes, my name is Emily. I'm an entrepreneur. I was always into spirituality, very connected as a young girl. I remember having, feeling a certain way about life, and I had many questions about life. And I was born in England, and then around the age of 7-8 years old, my family and I, we moved to the Mediterranean, so Mallorca.
Nice.
We were there for some time, and many things happened there. I had more encounters with, let's say, the other realms, and also, yes, spirits. I would call them spirits, and dreams, and many different things started happening, and I started to question a lot, even more. And then, unfortunately, my parents, they passed away when I was a teenager, and this led to this experience. It just kind of woke me up. I think it was there was a bit of fear there, but there was also this yearning to know what is life all about and
was
how.
Was it a specific experience you're talking about?
Yes, it was there was a few experiences I had growing up that really made me think, whoa. And I always knew there was more than this flesh and bones. In my perspective, it's just the truth that I feel. Obviously, everyone is different, and I tried not to put my beliefs on anybody else, but I did have some encounters, which I can tell you a little bit later on if you like, or
why don't you
go
tell us?
Dive deep. Let's dive deep.
Got one that's significant, I guess it would be interesting to.
Yes.
An early sort of life changing in some form or other.
Oh yes, I had a few. So one, apart from also having experiences with the paranormal, you would call it, I did have that. Definitely, I could see beings, I could hear them, and I didn't really know what to do. I had no sort of guidance, and my mother was used to this, so it was very normal for me. But as soon as I started talking about it, I understood very quickly that it wasn't so normal, and people would tell me, don't talk about this, don't
Not
mention this. Yeah. You would go to maybe a place, a certain center that sent me, that was the thing. But then it started, so it was fun, but at the same time I felt scared, because I didn't know what was going on, and I think they wanted help from me, and I had no idea what was going on. So that was happening, and it started happening every night as well. And then at night I would have experiences with these.
In the dream state, or like pre.
This was kind of
in between, maybe.
Yeah, and it would mostly happen at night, because I was kind of more, the guard was down. So yes, it could be dream state, but many times it was when I was or dozing off, or when I'm going to wake up, or I'd get woken up in the middle of the night, and then I'd be very awake and have sort of experiences in that way. So it was quite unpleasant, because I didn't understand it and I didn't have much guidance. So for me, it was quite normal, these other realms, but at the same time I was completely disoriented. And what happened when I was 14, I was on a motorbike, on a scooter. So I was driving my scooter, and I had a friend on the back. And I remember very well, it was very dark, pitch black, and I stopped the motorbike, and I don't know why. It was as if we were very cold, we were lost, we were getting to a house, and I couldn't find my way. And for some reason I stopped, and if I would have stayed there was cars coming just so fast behind us. There was roadworks going on, and they were just flying, and it was like I was pushed. It was like something said, drive, ride. And so I carried on driving, and literally it took me to a corner with my friend, and literally like 2 seconds later, a car went right past us.
Where
like
you
it
would
would
have
have
been.
completely killed us. Like it would have been instant death. I'm sure. I'm not. And my friend was so shocked. She kind of like was hitting me on the back, and she was crying, and she was a mess, and I was in pure shock. And I knew that it wasn't my time to go. Like it was this feeling of, Emily, you've got to get your act together. And because I was going through a sort of my father had died when I was 14. That also woke me up a lot. And then when I was 17, my mother died.
Wow, that must have been
Yes.
so tough.
It was very tough. And we were alone in New York. I have 2 sisters. And we felt it, we felt this. We were kind of lost, and we knew all about this sort of other world, but you can't really talk about it. So it was really interesting. One of my sisters went into religion, and then the other one just trying to find her way as well. And I tried many things. I was on this search through food. So I would try different diets. Okay, so how can I live up to an older age and be healthy and vibrant? Because back then they would say, but why do you want to deprive yourself, and we're all gonna die anyway.
Yeah, live a little.
But live a little, right?
Yeah,
And I was like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but I don't get it at the same time. Like, if I live a long age, I want to try and be vibrant and live, and give back, and to be able to sustain myself in the best way I can. I know
be
that's
active, basically. You don't. I've got a little story of being on a. If you imagine yourself on a tour, a sort of coach tour, wherever in another country, probably.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be one of those people on the bus, do you? That doesn't get off the bus because they can see a few flights of stairs that they're intimidated by, and they just know that if they go down those stairs,
yes,
they might not be able to get back up, or if they are able to do it, then they probably won't be able to do anything the rest of the day. And they sit on the bus and they just like live it through the other people because they're not able. And you don't want to be that person that's having to stay on the bus. You need to be that 85-year-old, 90-year-old that's maybe not running down the steps, but you're still able to go and experience that lake or that cave or that summit or whatever it might be, right? That's where you should be focusing.
Exactly.
So I'm totally with you on that. And
yes.
People don't think that long term, do they?
No. And I did, go through stages where I was like being a bit more of a rebel, I would call it, but because I was just trying it out, I was trying so hard that in the end I would go back into society ways, maybe, or what I had around me in that moment. It was not always easy because I didn't have any guidance. It was just literally purely myself, figuring it out in this way. And so, but I did notice that and then I went on this quest to, okay, and then I, spirit, what is, okay,
so that woke you up then? That sort of like made you take a
more.
sort of life check of like, hang on a minute, what am I actually doing?
Yeah.
Where am I heading?
Yeah.
What's my plan?
Yes. And I was scared to, also one of the sort of fears I had was to kind of go in depression and stay there. And that was also something that was quite, I had a lot of respect for that. It's not that, but I think I had it at 14 or something like that. I was going through a bit of a stage, and yeah, it's rough. And so this was, it was like, how can I do this? So, I saw many people around me, they were taking a lot of medication, or they would, or maybe they were numbing the pain in a certain way, with maybe substances, I don't know. But I just thought, okay, what can I do, and I tried things like that, but it was definitely not my path, and I didn't want to do that. So yeah, I did kind of do some extreme diets and stuff like that, and some extreme things, and then I just started to kind of go on that path. And then I realized that there was a lot of lacking of self-worth or self-love, I would say. So then I was obviously looking for love at some point. So I would, go, have partners and stuff like that, and it would work, but it would be like this cover, and I was covering up something that I was searching something outside of me when it really was inside of me. And so obviously the love of my parents, or that backup that you have, that I was looking for that. I couldn't find it. I was like, okay, what's going on?
Removed from your life, right?
Exactly. And so then I was in that stage. So I tried to kind of fake it till you make it sort of thing. And yes, it did work. I started working in completely different areas that wasn't sort of my, it was tourism, and it was a great experience, but I completely shut off spirituality. Even when I was with my partner, when I was at work, and even with friends, the conversation, some of my friends knew I would have dreams and premonitions, and I would tell them if I had it with them. I couldn't control it. It would happen. I'd have a dream of a friend, and things would happen, and it would happen. And I know now I know that we have multiple, possibilities that can happen in the future, as we know is the future. But then I just saw it and it would happen. But because if they carried on that path, 99% of what I have saw would come true. So that would be the result. But they could change it. Obviously, if I say something about the future, our future, it is changeable, just to get it out there. So I'm there living this life. I'm about 21, 22, 23, and I'm living this life. I have a partner. He's a few years older than me, and we're living in a place, and I'm going to work. I met him through work, so, we were doing different areas, and I was living this life that it seemed quite good. I was learning a lot, but I was completely disconnected. So they got to a point where I would get in my car from home. I would be crying in my car all the way to work, and then go to work and also be, sort of lost and dissatisfied, because it was a great experience. Like, now I look back and I think, Emily, what an amazing experience. I was 5 years with this guy. I was 6 years in that company, and it was a beautiful experience, but it was hard, and I was completely disconnecting from my passion, from what I know is true for me. It doesn't have to be true for anyone else, but I couldn't fake it anymore. So, of course, when you start waking up even more again, everything started to disable, and I left the job. It sort of happened mutually.
It's more layers of the onion, isn't
more
it?
layers,
that get exposed, and
exactly.
you think you're awake, and then you realise, no, there's another layer to go through there. And
yes.
This is actually reality, and then, no, this is reality, and...
Exactly. And we broke up, my partner and I was devastated. And it wasn't so much for him, it was kind of the situation. I was so used to that. I held it all together, all the emotions.
Comfort zone was fractured and broken. That's probably the trauma in that than...
Because I had created what I wanted when I needed it, what I wanted, which was, sort of a family life that had been broken before my time, or before I was ready. And I created it, but it was like a covering. It wasn't coming from my true essence, I believe. And so it had to dissemble. It had to disintegrate at some point, because the reality had to hit me hard and show me and just say, Emily, wake up. There's more to do here. You've got more to do. And it was the best thing that could have happened to me. At the time, I thought it was the worst thing that was happening. I thought I was dying. I was like, whoa. But I ended up starting to travel from there. So I went to Africa, and I loved the fact that I went to Africa. I went there for a month because it was like, let's start from zero. But really, in Africa, I feel it's like a root place. It really is like starting from the beginning. Like, if there was a beginning, I'd say it's Africa, because they're so grounded. They've got all even the land and all the nutrients they've got, and you're talking about food
still got that knowledge,
and culture.
Still got that knowledge
and it's just so grounded.
With Mother Earth, basically.
Yes, and then I started going to those places, Morocco and all of those places. And from there, it just was a journey, and just did retreats. And I started, I did try some psychedelic stuff as well.
Okay.
And also through meditation and through a lot of inner work. And sometimes, yes, I got lost in it as well, because I'm a quite airy, and sometimes I can lose my roots in it all. But it did helped me. Everything was just a beautiful experience, and it helped me to build up the person I am today. And now more rooted, and I'm able to bring the two worlds together, like this human experience that I'm experiencing, enjoying it, and understanding that I'm here for a reason. I chose to be here, and then having the other side of the spectrum. Right, that's the many years in Spain. Spectrum. Having the spiritual side, and
you feel like you've got a good grasp on both.
Good balance, of understanding that I can have a normal conversation, and also understand that we're more than what the eye can see, and that and sometimes we're always going outside of ourselves, when in reality, when do we stop and go within? Who's saying that the answers are not within? And I believe that, and I really feel the oneness with us all, with everything. And I think it's something that you can say it, you can understand it maybe intellectually, but it really comes down to feeling it and knowing it. It's like a wave. It's like a wave of an emotion that goes over you, that you can't deny it.
Like a consciousness wave.
Yes.
Of oneness, probably.
Yes. And
they say that it's the field, don't they? The field of consciousness that we all sort of either meditate up to and tap into in certain experiences, and there's probably levels of that as well.
Oh yes.
So you mentioned psychedelics.
Yes.
So could we delve into one of your experiences?
Yes, we can. So I think I would like to this experience, I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, but it was with this I was in Puerto Rico, and I didn't expect to do this, but it came up this way, and
that's quite often what happens.
It was happened, yeah, exactly, and I wasn't expecting it at all, but it was it's sort of a thing I had never actually heard of before. But on my travels, I started off in Argentina, and I was doing some work there with Matias de Stefano and some other people as well, and from there it was all kind of, I started hearing about this thing. It's like it's a sapo, so it's like a toad, I think it is, and it's I think they take they extract this sort of
the poison
of its back,
yeah.
And then that way they dry it, and then they're able to heat it up, and then create smoke. So then I inhaled this smoke.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm always I understand that, plants and sort of everything has information. Everything is energy and information. So yeah, I did think about this quite a lot. But anyway, I did it, and it was an amazing experience. It was something I probably, like, one in a lifetime thing. I wouldn't do it again, but it did help me in a way. So for example, I did it. It was with beautiful people around me, and I had a beautiful house that was surrounded. And I was in Puerto Rico. I mean, this all tropical, beautiful part of the
rainforest.
Rainforest. It was completely in the rainforest, but it was a normal house. It wasn't any ceremony or anything. And so as soon as I took it, I felt this immense. So I was resisting with it, like my whole body was holding on for dear life. And
did you feel it come down on you?
Yes,
or like
a wave. Again, I wouldn't know how to explain it so much, but it's just like when you go into a hammam, or like a Turkish, but and the wave of it hits you, doesn't it? On the outside, so it's like it hits you from within. It's like you go into a different room in a different temperature. And then I understood, I was conscious, and it was like holding on. I was like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't, what's going on? I don't surrender. I don't know. And that's all my own fears about life, And then all of a sudden I just surrendered, and this big like wave of, I felt it's over, I'm dying. You know, I thought that was happening. But what was really happening...
You really thought you were...
Yes, I thought I was dying, but I knew it was okay. And it was saying it's okay. You're going to be okay. And
so there was some messaging,
yes,
telepathic messaging, voices.
I would always think it's, we can call it guides, angels, we can call it masters, ancestors. But in the end, I think it's me talking to me. It's our higher self talking to I. And who is the higher self? If we're oneness, then it is all me anyway. Sounds a bit strange, but
no, makes sense.
You know what I mean. And
makes
so,
sense.
so I could say yes, it was thanks to the beautiful the medicine of this because it is that. And then through there's these masters or guides or ancestors, even the people that own the house, even the person providing me this to, even the pilot that's flying the airplane that got me there. You could really go. It's like a ripple effect, isn't it? And so I'm there having this moment and thinking, oh my God. But I was surrendering, and what I did notice is that I was going through life. I was resisting. I was not flowing with life. I was holding on for dear life. Like I wasn't really enjoying the experience of this life. And I'm like, whoa. And then it kind of said, relax. And as soon as I surrendered, I was able to feel. And it means like feel those things that I didn't dare to feel, like the loss of my mother. And I felt her, and I felt the pain, and it was like I was my mother and my mother was I, and as I wasn't letting go of her, she wasn't letting go of me. And so it's a mutual thing.
So there's perhaps there's a tether somehow that's that you won't let go of.
Yes.
And therefore she can't let go of it.
No. And so then if she's not letting go, I can't let go. So
you're both stuck.
And that's where things get stuck, right? And so then I was like, okay, Mom. And I'm talking with her. I start talking with her. Well, first I noticed that I start screaming and crying, but I'm kind of there and I'm not there because I'm living the experience because it was so hard for me to go through. I think
you're either reflecting back on, I guess, when it all happened and subsequent times, or you're actually crying and screaming in your physical body at this time.
Yes.
Possibly
for me, it
both.
felt very present. It felt I was so even though we could say, oh, you're going back in the past. No, I actually was so more present than I'd ever been in my whole entire life. I was so present that allowed me to feel it because I didn't judge it. I just felt it and it just waved, it just
was it.
It was it, if that makes sense. And so through that experience, I was able to release that. I felt the pain. I started choking as well. And because it was so much. It was just, and imagine when we have pain or when we've gone through some sort of trauma, I could say, or some sort of heartbreak or something, and we think we've digested it, but we actually, sometimes there's like a piece that didn't fully integrate, And so I was kind of going through it. It was such a bubble that my body was like, but finally when that bit happened, then I was able to have that conversation with her, like, I let you go, I love you, and thank you, and I let you go so that you can let me go, and so we can let each other go. And in the sense of she's not going anywhere, but we're integrating this experience, and I'm fully embodying myself and her and everything that happened, and I accept it, and I have pure love for it because I know that through that place goodness can come from it, And another thing I would love to mention is that in front of me I had some bamboos, right? They were long, big, natural bamboos that were growing. And they taught me so much, so that I had this little conversation. I know you would think, what? Yes. Let's see if I get this right, because I haven't really spoken about this since my experience, and this happened a few years ago. And the bamboo was saying to me, look, we are rooted, but at the same time, we are so tall. We are flexible, but at the same time, we are so strong. We are able to be without touching anyone, but at the same time be surrounded by so many other bamboos. Like they're completely surrounded by it. And they said we can be used also dry or wet or in different circumstances. And it was just showing me that I can be the same. I am adaptable, but at the same time, I can be so grounded at the same time. And it was the biggest lesson I ever had. It was just, wow. It was such a conversation with this bamboo plant. But it was so true because I understood it. I was like, okay, I can be surrounded by so many people, but I can also be completely isolated or by myself. And yes, you know, I'm flexible, and it's also been able to use bamboo. I mean, it's so sustainable at the same time, and you know, now we're using it on everything, clothes, everything, you know, all sorts of things, and making a house, putting a roof over it.
Right?
Yes, resourceful. It can make, it can, you know, it can be a tube for water to pass through. It can, well, apart from being absolutely beautiful, it's so strong, but yet it's flexible. I mean, it's got it all. And it can create a house. It can create, you know, a place where you can, you know, boil water, and just infinite possibilities. And it was showing me the infinite being I am, and that we all are. Yeah, and so that was amazing. But I understood that through this experience, I really felt that I wanted to find, where can I get all that information that I'd earned and ground it within myself, and also not have to be always searching on the exterior like I did, looking for the partner, or looking for, or the food, or the everything else I did in my experience. I noticed I was always searching outside of myself, which is beautiful. It is part of the path. But soon as I really got into meditation, and I did a few retreats that was out without any of this also psychedelic experiences, it was just opened up another door. And I also had a really amazing experience through a deep meditation that I was in with nothing. I just drank some water, and yes, I'd eaten, but it was so profound, so beautiful. And I remember being there and integrating this experience, and I felt my back was completely being like operated on.
Wow, really?
Yes, and I was so in another world. I actually was in the lotus pose, and then I fell back. And as I was still in the meditation pose, there was some other people, and we were all kind of meditating, so it was very strong intention, I suppose. And I saw these little beings around and I'm thinking, I didn't take anything, what's going on, you know? And I said, who are you? And they said, oh, and I felt like they were restructuring my spine and everything on the top and the bottom of coccyx, everything they were doing. And I said, you know, who are you? Can I see you? And they said, you're not prepared to see us yet. And I said, come on, you know, you can't do that to me now. You know, I'm here. I want to know. And they turn around, and I see these little beings, and they seem to be dressed up like it was sort of a purple color, or like a violet purple color, and they were like, I think, if I remember correctly, they were grey, and they were very small, and their eyes were very big, but they were very small and they had big heads. That's what I remember. And it was like sort of a whole trip. And when that experience happened, what was funny was when I got home from that retreat, I had really bad fever after that. And normally I get that after some sort of, you know, when I've been ill, or like operation, or some sort of surgery, or some movement. And I swear, and nobody could explain like where the fever was. It was just like as if my body was healing. So I had that for like 3 days. And after that experience, it was as if I could hear differently and I could see differently. So for example, you know, when someone's telling you a story, or you're listening to a podcast, or you're watching a YouTube, or you're looking at a movie, you can get a certain amount of information that you're integrating, right? And that you understand. But there's sometimes when you re-listen to that podcast, or you watch that movie again, and you see a whole nother picture, and you're like, was that the same movie I watched last time? And it's like as if the information everything was more clear. It was as if the curtains were taken off, and I could see clearer, but not just see on a physical level, or hear on a physical level apart from that, but it's also what you were saying was more of a, I got it, like a wave. Comprehension. Like before I couldn't understand it properly.
And what meditation was it?
It was just my own meditation, nothing, no guidance. It was just every day we'd have to meditate for a few days. And yeah, I was with this lady called Anfrinet. She channels a being called Anfrinet. She's called Adrian, and a beautiful person. And she showed me how to, kind of just go within. She guided it, sort of go within. And that was a really amazing experience, but it was with nothing. So
just shows you
it
what your body can,
yes,
your mind can do, where you can go.
Yes, and setting intention.
Important.
Yes.
So what's the most impactful? I mean, it sounds like the thing with your mum was pretty impactful. Has that been an impact since? Is it sort of been easier?
So it has, because I'm in that same retreat. Obviously, with my father, it was. I thought always to myself, it was. I had a worst experience with my father. I was 14. He was my best friend. He was my father. He was everything I loved him so much. Such a nice man as well, and that's like, oh God, you had to go, right? But with my mother, I thought, okay, I've got to toughen up, because in the hospital she was, and it was more of a time of her. She had like a year and a half where she was kind of dying in the process, and so kind of I worked up, and I thought I was ready. I was like, okay. She's like, Emily, you're going to be strong, and I was 17. I'm like, okay, and. So I thought I was pretty okay, but I obviously wasn't, and it was really hidden, and it was the feminine, like really wow, powerful. And in this, cutting a long story short, sorry. So after the retreat, when I had this experience in this, with the operation of the back, when I went to bed that night, we were sharing rooms in this retreat. We were different, and I was sharing with this lady, and this lady happened to want to stay in someone else's room. Right. Because they were talking all night, and I just needed to rest, basically. And it was like destiny, because when I was in the room by myself, I all of a sudden had this realization that, because it's so powerful, meditating, we're not reading, we're not looking at TV, we're completely disconnected from everything, and we're just literally doing the work, and also, being quite creative and doing our own stuff. But what happened was, I realized, so I all of a sudden had a flashback of my life, but only with my mother. So it was like a flash of my life with my mother, and all these moments, like when we were playing chess, when we were laughing, when we had moments of, like, when we had an argument and I left the house and shut the door and left, when we slept in the same bed, when we would tell stories, and all of these things, it went like this, like a movie. And all of a sudden I had this understanding. I remember this also a moment when I looked at her and I saw her eyes, and I saw sadness in her eyes, but she wouldn't show it, because she was a very proud woman. She wouldn't like cry or anything in front of me. So you saw her eyes, and I remember feeling, wow, that if that's, I'm thinking that's my mom, but in reality, if we're all one, then that's me, and it's my mom, and I'm not integrating all of those things. So I'm thinking it's separate from me. I'm seeing her, I'm imagining her sadness, her happiness, but at the same time, I'm looking at it as if I don't need to deal with that, because it's not me. So as soon as I understood that I am her, she is me, all of those emotions, I literally had to process them. Like all of those things that I thought were separate from me, I had to integrate it. And I started bawling and screaming and in the cushion and crying, and I'm like, I had this whole process, because I understood that as long as I was telling myself that's not me,
that's
separate from me.
From you.
Yes, I was not fully integrating it, and I would never be able to process it and really understand it and process all those emotions that are me as well.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to explain with words. It was more of a feeling, because I never had that before, so explaining it with words is a little bit difficult. But since that moment, oh my God, a whole nother experience in my life, like with women, with my own feminine, my relationship with men, the whole thing changed, and I just feel like like a new. It is a process, and it's like an ongoing.
It's interesting, isn't it? That it's not just at the time of this experience, this out of body or whatever experience, it's actually the repercussions of the little lessons it gives you as it processes through your spirit or your being and makes those connections and things. It's really interesting. So, advice for people?
Yes. Wow. Yes. I think it's a good thing is to share your story, to share your love, your passion, because that way you are helping yourself integrate it, and you're also learning about yourself, and you're sharing it with others. You're helping others, and this is also a great example of that. Because you're allowing others to have a glimpse of what is possible, and maybe they haven't heard it before. Maybe they're very used to it and they know their stuff, and it's all good. It's all perfect because that is this experience of life. And to understand that there's more than the eyes can see. So when we think we know it all, think again. Go back in your meditation lotus, or do your conscious movement, or go write your book. But there's always more to it. So I love this saying from Wayne Dyer, which is, be open to everything and attached to nothing.
Very good.
It's so beautiful, and I love that. So I would just say, be kind to yourself. Go within when you need to go within. Have your internal time. But remember, we are in this together. So it is also necessary to share this beautiful knowledge and story, whether it's, right or wrong. There is no right and wrong. There is no true or false. Everyone has their experience, and it's true for them. And that's it. So that
awesome. Awesome.
The love, may love lead the way.
So where can our listeners find out more about your work and what you do?
Well, I'm on social media, but I also have a website. It's called www.emilyvictoriawaters.com, which is my name. And then I also do retreats, which is Soul Seas Retreats. They'll find on the website as well. And on social media, I'm the same name. So
we'll put our links below so people can contact you. And
thank you.
Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.